Hi everybody, welcome to my back porch. I know I've only put one video up so far and I'm a new channel, but I was doing some research to put together a really good video involving the mysteries and controversies of the Great Pyramids and the Giza Plateau. And as I was going through to write this all out, something struck me like a bolt of lightning. And I have been Googling feverishly for a couple days, and I haven't ever seen this mentioned anywhere. So I just wanted to, off the cuff, do a video to talk about the 3 artifacts that were found in the Queen's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. These are the only 3 artifacts that have ever been found. And these 3 artifacts are a granite ball, a bronze double hook, and a deteriorated wood rod. And it hit me that I know exactly what these tools were used for, and it was for a specific task that I had done myself a couple of times, and I've seen other people do, and it's a real specific task. And when I discuss what that task was, everybody is gonna go, oh, okay. So let me kind of give a little background of how I came to this conclusion. Let's go back and imagine the engineers planning the pyramid. And what they have to do is build a mountain out of stone, and in this mountain they need to put 2 rooms and some passageways. And due to the weight of the stone and how large the pyramid is, these rooms are actually quite small. So they get the plans together and they get ready for construction, and I start to wonder if they realized it then or later as they started construction that these rooms were going to cause a massive problem that was going to bite them in the butt later. And it goes like this. Once those rooms are closed in and built, walls up, roof on, and you've moved to another level, you do not have the ability at all to move any heavy objects into the chamber. So we'll use an example and I'll describe why this is. Just a hypothetical. The overseer is one day looking over the pyramid. They're ahead of schedule. They're beating their block quota for the week. So they know they're all going to get extra beer this weekend and everybody's going to have a really good time. And at this point, they have closed in the so-called Queen's Chamber, and there may be a couple block levels above it. And out of the blue, and this will happen to this day on construction sites. Let's say a representative of the king comes up and says, hey, how's it going? By the way, here's a granite box that was just sent over, finished, and it needs to go in the downstairs chamber. Now, something like this would be logical to put that in before the walls went up. But there's no such thing as a delay when you have this project. Now, on a modern construction project, if you try and do this, very quickly, within 10 seconds, you're going to learn all the latest swear words, and the construction supervisor is going to say something similar to, well, it's not possible now, you're going to have to put it in yourself. But back then, you don't say no to the king. So he would say, okay, And now you have to figure this out. Here's the problem. You have a passageway that goes down into a chamber. So let's say it weighs a ton. Well, you can't push it because only maybe 2 at the max, 3 workers can put their hands on that object and push it. So you don't have enough leverage. The space is small, so you can't push it. The other version is the classical 20 guys on a rope can pull it in. Here's the problem. They can only pull it so far. Once the back guys hit the wall in the chamber, that's it. That thing isn't moving any further, because once they get to the wall, they lose all their leverage. They can't use their backs. They can't use their legs. At some point, they can't get it any further, which is going to leave the block or the object right where it is and possibly trap the workers in the chamber, which nobody wants a lawsuit or a visit from OSHA, even them. So how do you solve this problem if it occurs this way? You get the staff together, and the first option is to stop all work and begin tearing down to open that chamber back up, which is not an option. That is going to stop work, go in reverse, and put you years behind schedule. The ideal situation is if you could put the rope through the wall and have it go outside to where you can put as many guys as you can on the length of rope you're using, and they'll have plenty of room and leverage to pull it back. The problem is you can't put a hole straight out, because that's several meters of rock and plus casing stones that are on the outside, so you're going to end up ticking off the siding guys, and nobody wants that. So you're thinking, what if they say, hey, we've got these shafts just outside the wall, okay? And they're open, they go up at an angle, they're open right now and will probably still be open for a year or two, depending on how quickly they're moving. And if they're already covered, they know exactly where the opening is, if they even needed to punch a hole. Great. Here's where the 3 tools come in. So you would need a thread of rope through that shaft. Whatever the end use of the shaft was, it needs to come down probably 20 feet and then come straight in. The shafts don't go straight, they kind of go out and then up. Well, if you're putting a rope down a 20-foot shaft, you're never going to be able to make it the bend into the chamber. It's going to bunch up or it's going to get caught. So what you would do, and we do things like this to this day, imagine an electrician that has to put a new wire in from the 2nd floor to the basement panel using an existing conduit. And where the conduit goes to the box, there's a bend. You can't really press a long wire down there. It's not going to bend. So what you would do with the rope is, at the end of it, you would tie a weight to it, in this case a granite ball, and then drop it down the shaft. And inside the room, somebody's going to have to reach in and grab that using a rod with a hook. They're going to have to grab that rope and pull it through, and because the weight is on the end of it, it gives the hook something to bite onto. Okay? You pull it through, thread it out. I've used this technique with very similar tools. I've used it using fishing line and a weight and a bent hanger. Same thing. You got a ball, you have a line, and you have a hook to pull it out so you can thread something through a conduit. I'm totally convinced that's exactly what they're for. There's no mystery considering where they were found. So to me, that's proof they did this at least once for whatever reason. And the question is, well, where did they build those shafts in there for that exact reason? That they knew they were going to need leverage to move something heavy into the room at a later date. You could make the argument for that. I don't think it was a unitasker like that, considering that they do point at celestial. So it could be a dual purpose. But in the end, the argument could be made that they engineered those in. And you would say, well, wouldn't it make sense to leave a hole going straight through the wall, as I said before? Well, not necessarily, because I believe as they built up level by level, they were also installing the casing blocks. It's going to be much easier to do that while you're standing on that level rather than complete the superstructure and then go back up and put casing blocks. It makes sense to pretty much do it as you're going up. If you leave a hole going straight out, you're going to tick off the siding guys because they're going to have to either leave a hole in a casing block or not even put that block in which case you can't get back up there and put it back in. It's going to be a pain. So what you can do is leave a shaft that goes out and then goes at an angle. The reason being, you wouldn't want them to stay straight, because if you're using ropes, you don't want to go through two right angles. So they would come out and then slope up to a point where it was pointless and they couldn't use them anymore. So it could be. That's what they did. That's why it's in both chambers. I mean, in what the so-called King's Chamber, there's a granite box. If it wasn't put in when the room was open and they had to move it in there, they would have needed that leverage. That doesn't explain why there's a door, though. That could have been part of the ritual use of the shaft. So it could have served a dual purpose. It totally makes sense to me completely that they at least leveraged something that was already there to help with a problem. And it would have worked. And having one on an opposite wall from each other, that's going to actually allow you to bring two lines in if you needed to turn a heavy object, if you know what I'm saying. Then you would want to come in from two different directions. It's just a thought and an idea. I'd like to put it out there. I don't know. I can't find anybody talking about this. Hey, let's get the discussion going. Pass it around. If you see this video and you think somebody else should see it and give their opinion, share it out. Give me a like, give me a dislike. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. It doesn't matter. I like engagement. Or let me know what you think. Let's get the discussion going here on my back porch. I like talking about this stuff. Give me a reason to. Anyway, thanks for putting up with me for the last few minutes. I appreciate it. Let my opinion out there. Say hi to the cat. They're going to join us occasionally. I really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, leave me any comment, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks.